Pantheon is one of ancient Rome's greatest and best preserved buildings. Constructed as a temple in the Campus Martius in Rome in 126 AD, the Pantheon has no clear architect. The first version was designed by Roman statesman General Marcus Agrippa, and the Pantheon as we know today was built 100 years later under the direction of the Emperor Hadrian, whose architects may have taken the design from architect-engineer Apollodorus of Damascus. The Pantheon was built from one master plan, with differing materials and differing forms, solely within the style of Roman tradition. Due to the incredible fact that it has survived for 2,000 years, the truly Roman Pantheon is a goldmine of architectural, archaeological, and historic information on the Roman Empire. The entrance to the Pantheon is through the pronaos, which is the interior of the portico or porch of the building. The portico consists of the pediment and roofing on top of 16 monolithic Corinthian-style columns laid on top of a flat surface called the podium. The podium has brick walls and originally had 5 flights of marble stairs leading up from the forecourt. The columns are laid out in 3 rows with 8 in the first row and 2 columns behind the first, 3rd, 6th, and 8th column. As a result, a center pathway, free of 2 rows of 2 columns through the pronaos, is emphasized. Altogether, the portico is built in a strong and traditional Roman manner. The connection between the quadrilateral pronaos and the circular rotunda is the brick-faded concrete structure known as the intermediate block, which is also an aesthetic transformation between the 2 parts. Walking through the building, the shift from columns to pilasters makes a very noticeable change for a visitor, who realizes they have left the porch and are now in an intermediate area. All the while, this change builds up anticipation for the entrance into the massive rotunda interior. The Pantheon's famous rotunda is a cylinder made up of different distinct layers with varying materials. The rotunda sits on a massive concrete ring foundation. On the outside, the cylinder is brick-faced with relieving arches strengthening the structure, as well as bringing out a rhythmic alternation in an otherwise uniform wall. Standing inside the rotunda, there is a visible vertical movement upward, emphasized by the pilasters that ring the interior of the cylinder. Probably the most famous aspect of the Pantheon is the giant concrete cupola that covers the rotunda. The cupola is formed in the shape of a hemisphere, and the rotunda encompasses the whole sphere, making the height of the opening the same distance as the diameter of the rotunda, which is around 148 feet. The entire inside of the cupola is decorated with coffers, which are sunk in square panels. They emphasize the rise of the cupola by diminishing its size towards the oculus. The large oculus at the top of the cupola is the shining focal point of the interior of the structure. It brings down a striking circle of light that illuminates the vast rotunda floor. The construction of the cupola is one of the most miraculous aspects of the Pantheon, because it has been predicted that in 126 AD, the builders had to pour concrete over a spherical wooden structure with the coffer templates built in. It is very fortunate that the Pantheon is still standing and still emblematic of ancient Roman architecture. While only a few parts of the Pantheon are new for its time, the complexity of the building is exceptional in that it encompasses a large amount of methods of construction as well as a series of architectonic forms and motifs. The size of the cupola itself was unprecedented for its time, and to this day stands as the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome. The circular shape of the Pantheon, however, is an idea that does not belong to the Romans, but rather the tradition of the ancient hut that humans have been building since long before the Romans. The Pantheon has also inspired and been modeled on for countless buildings, including the Pantheon in Paris, the Rotunda at UVA, the Jefferson Memorial, and the United States Capitol. As a huge fan of ancient Rome and ancient Greek history, I'm lucky to have been able to study the Pantheon. To me, the real wonder and excitement comes from the fact that it is so gigantic. It's amazing the lengths that the ancient people went to in order to build a temple dedicated to all the gods. The Pantheon is beyond a doubt